The following program was created by students enrolled at the Youth Media Network at DCTV. For more information, visit dctv.org. The District of Columbia's statehood has been debated and discussed and has recently become a hot topic again. What are some of the advantages and disadvantages of the nation's capital becoming the 51st state? In this episode of District Buzz, we'll be exploring the past and present of DC as it relates to its future. Are you aware that in the District of Columbia, residents pay federal and local taxes without having a say in how the funds are dispersed? Without statehood, residents cannot fully participate in the political process.
I think in the case of Washington, D.C., what it means is that D.C. residents pay all the taxes than any other American does, but they don't get voting representation in Congress, which I think is very wrong.
Founded in 1790 with a clause in the Constitution, Washington, D.C. was created as a place for Congress to run the federal government without state influence. The district's location between the then 13 colonies was a compromise like many decisions in American history. Since its founding, D.C. has been under the control of Congress. However, since 1801, the district residents have been trying to become independent with statehood. It wasn't until 1964 that residents were able to vote for president. In 1973, residents were finally able to elect a council to handle the city's affairs due to the passing of the Home Rule Act. Unfortunately, Congress was and currently is still in control. Although DC does not have an official congressman, we do have shadow representatives.
Absolutely. DC deserves voting rights. You do pay, residents and citizens of Washington, D.C. do pay taxes, yet they don't have a voice in Congress, and sometimes Congress doesn't act in people's best interests, and I really think it is critical that D.C. has voting rights.
Franklin Garcia was elected U.S. Representative Shadow for the District of Columbia on November 4, 2014. He is working to bring full democracy to more than 650,000 people in our nation's capital by helping make the District of Columbia the 51st state in the Union. He is part of a statehood congressional delegation that includes 2 senators and 1 U.S. representative.
Well, DC statehood is very important because it's the one way where the citizens of the District of Columbia are able to have the same rights that every other citizens in the United States have. And so people talk about mainly being wanting to have DC become a state because that will ensure that we have full representation in the U.S. Congress. But that's not the only thing that we're get. We can get that with voting rights. Statehood will actually give us a lot more than simply that. Our budget will be able to control. The court system currently is all under the federal government. That will come under a local jurisdiction. So there are many benefits to being a state. We remember 2 instances where it was very detrimental to the citizenry of our city, the actions of the Congress. Back at the height of the AIDS crisis, we actually implemented a law that allowed, because we knew the infection rate of AIDS, we actually implemented a law, and it's called a needle exchange law, a needle exchange program, where people were being given needles because we found that a lot of the AIDS infection was happening by contaminated needles. And so we implemented that law, and the Congress took it away. And we estimate that hundreds of people, if not even thousands, could have been prevented from getting infected had that law continued. It took many years later for us to implement that law, and we knew that the outcome of that was that it saved a lot of lives. The fear is that should Washington become a state, they believe that it'll always have sitting Democrats in both in the Senate and the House of Representatives. It's unfortunate that the rights of people has become an issue, a political issue, and that's what it is in Washington. So we're excited that in spite of this Congress not being very receptive to Washingtonians and their plight for statehood, that we're seeing a big momentum growing. There's a lot of young people, a lot of new energy. We're getting about 1,000 new residents in the city, and those people are becoming more engaged and involved. They're concerned. So the whole statehood movement is actually picking up, and we're very excited about the momentum right now.
Even if D.C. isn't granted statehood, what are some ways that we could combat taxation without representation? Whether you are for or against the nation's capital becoming the 51st state, it is always important to remain aware of the issue at hand. My name is Ebony Gibbs, and you've just been buzzed.